Captain Lee Taman stood at the command center window, watching the enemy ships fill the sky above Kepler 442b. There were so many of them that they blocked out the stars. Each ship was black as midnight and shaped like a giant insect. These were the Vorthak, the machines that had destroyed 12 worlds in the past year. "How many?" Lee asked his assistant. 3,000 ships, sir. Maybe more coming." Lee felt his stomach drop. The Federation only had 200 ships left. Most were damaged from previous battles. Many had alien crews who had never fought together before. It was not going to be enough. Dr. Park So-Young hurried into the command room. Her lab coat was dirty and her hair was messy. She had been working for 3 days straight trying to understand the enemy's language. "Captain, I decoded part of their communications," she said, holding up a data pad. "It's worse than we thought." "How much worse?" "They don't just want to destroy us. They want to take our life energy. Every living thing on this planet will be drained to power their machines." Lee closed his eyes for a moment. Below them, millions of refugees from destroyed worlds were hiding in underground shelters. Families with children, old people, scientists and artists and farmers, all waiting to die. "Any word from the other Federation worlds?" he asked. "Nothing. Sir, we're the last ones." On the other side of the command center, Ambassador Kang Dong-ho was arguing with the alien council members. The Zalari representative, a tall blue creature with 4 arms, was speaking loudly. "We should surrender," the Zalari said. "Maybe they will let some of us live." "They don't take prisoners," said the Manthi representative, a bug-like being with large black eyes. "We've seen what they do to captured worlds." "Then what do you suggest?" asked Kang Dong-ho. "We can't fight them all." Lee turned away from the window. He had an idea, but it was dangerous, maybe impossible. "Dr. Park, show me those communication patterns again." Park pulled up the data on the main screen. Lines of alien text scrolled past, along with signal analysis charts. "See this?" Lee pointed to a repeating pattern. "They're coordinating every ship movement from a central command. If we could disrupt that, it would be like cutting the head off a snake," Park finished. "But their command ship is in the center of their fleet. We'd never get close." "Maybe we don't need to get close." Before Lee could explain, alarms started blaring. The main screen switched to show space above the planet. Red energy beams were shooting down from the Vorthak fleet, hitting the planet's protective shields. "Shields at 80%, reported a technician. 70%, 60%. The shields were failing fast. Each hit made the whole planet shake. In the shelters below, people were probably crying and holding each other. General Kim Hae-jin's voice came over the communication system. "All ships, prepare for final battle. We hold them here or they destroy everything." Lee watched the Federation ships move into position. They looked so small compared to the enemy fleet, like insects fighting elephants. "Captain," said Park quietly, "I'm picking up something strange." "What kind of strange?" "A signal, very faint. It's human." Lee spun around. "Human? That's impossible. Earth is too far away." "I know, but the signal pattern is definitely human military encryption." Lee's heart started beating faster. Could it be true? Had Earth somehow heard about the war? On the screen, the First Federation. Ships engaged the enemy. Bright flashes lit up space as weapons fired. 2 Federation cruisers exploded immediately. A Vorthak ship lost a wing but kept fighting. "Shields at 40%. The planet shook again. Dust fell from the ceiling. Private Yoon Ji-ho ran into the command center. She was young, maybe 22, with sharp eyes and quick movements. Sir, we're getting reports from the surface. The shields are failing over Sector 7. Enemy ships are starting to land. How many? 50 so far. They're setting up some kind of drilling equipment. Lee knew what that meant. The Vorthak were going to start harvesting immediately. They wouldn't. Wait for the space battle to end. Send ground teams to Sector 7, he ordered. Tell them to hold those positions at all costs. Yoon saluted and ran out. Ambassador Kang approached Lee. Captain, the Council is asking if we should evacuate the planet. Evacuate to where? They have ships everywhere. I know, but... Another massive explosion shook the building. Through the window, Lee could see the shields flickering like a dying light bulb. Shields at 20%. Dr. Park was still working at her station. Captain, that human signal is getting stronger. Much stronger. Can you decode it? Working on it? Got it. Her eyes went wide. Sir, it says, reinforcements en route. Hold position. Humanity remembers its debts. Lee stared at her. Debts? What debts? I don't know, but sir, the signal is coming from outside our solar system, and it's moving this way. Fast! Hope flickered in Lee's chest, but he pushed it down. Even if humans were coming, they couldn't arrive in time. The shields would fail in minutes. On the screen, more Federation ships were dying. General Kim's flagship was surrounded by enemy vessels firing in all directions, shields at 10%. The Vorthak command ship, a massive black pyramid, moved closer to the planet. It was 5 times bigger than any Federation vessel. Energy was building around its main weapon. They're preparing to fire their planet killer, reported a technician. Lee closed his eyes. This was it. In a few minutes, every living thing on Kepler 442b would be dead. The Federation would be finished. The galaxy would belong to machines. Shields at 5%, 3%, 1%. Shields failing. The protection around the planet flickered and died. The Vorthak ships immediately began firing at the surface. Cities that had survived for 1,000 years started burning. Lee opened his eyes and looked at the destruction. They had fought well, but it wasn't enough. Nothing was enough against an enemy like this. Then Dr. Park grabbed his arm. Captain, look! She pointed at her screen. The human signal was now incredibly strong. And according to the sensors, whatever was sending it was almost here. Space began to twist and bend near the edge of the solar system. Reality itself seemed to be tearing open. Lee held his breath and waited to see what would come through. The space near Kepler 442b ripped open like paper. First one hole appeared, then 10, then 50. Each hole glowed with blue light and crackled with energy. Through them came ships unlike anything the Federation had ever seen. Captain Lee Tae-min counted them as they emerged. 100 ships, 200, 500. They kept coming until there were over 800 vessels filling the space around the planet. My God, whispered Dr. Park So-young. Where did they come from? The ships were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Their hulls seemed to shift color from silver to black to blue, like living metal. They moved with perfect coordination, spreading out to surround the Vorthak fleet. Are those really human ships? Asked Ambassador Kang Dong-ho. The signals are definitely human, Park confirmed. But I've never seen technology like this. The largest ship in the new fleet was twice the size of the Vorthak command vessel. Its hull was covered in strange patterns that seemed to move and change. As Lee watched, a communication came through on all frequencies. This is Admiral Cho Min-soo of the 3rd Human Expeditionary Fleet. All Vorthak vessels are ordered to withdraw immediately. You have 30 seconds to leave this system. The voice was calm and confident. It spoke in perfect galactic standard, but with a human accent that made Lee's heart race. His people had come. The Vorthak responded by firing their weapons at the nearest human ships. Massive red energy beams that could destroy mountains hit the human vessels directly. The beams did nothing. They bounced off the shifting hulls like water off glass. 30 seconds are up, said Admiral Cho's voice. All human vessels, you are cleared to engage. What happened next was like watching magic. The human ships moved in ways that should have been impossible. They dodged Vorthak fire before it was even fired, twisting through space like dancers. Their weapons were unlike anything Lee had seen before. Some ships fired beams of pure gravity that crushed enemy vessels like tin cans. Others shot swarms of missiles that seemed to think for themselves, learning how to penetrate Vorthak shields. After each hit, the most amazing weapons looked like cracks in space itself, reaching out to grab enemy ships and simply making them disappear. "How are they doing this?" Park asked, staring at her instruments. "I don't know," Lee replied. "But they're winning." A squadron of small human fighters flew past the command center window. Lee got a good look at one of the pilots through the clear canopy. It was a young woman with short black hair, probably Korean like him. She saw him watching and gave him a quick salute before her fighter spun away to attack a Vorthak cruiser. The fighter moved like it was alive, rolling and diving through enemy fire. It shot something that looked like a ball of lightning. The lightning hit the cruiser and spread across its hull like a virus. The entire ship shut down and began drifting in space. "Sir," called a technician, "I'm reading the fighter pilot's name, Lieutenant Shin Bo-ra." Lee smiled. A Korean name. His people really had come to help. Colonel Park Jin-woo's voice came over the communication system. He was apparently commanding a group of human Special Forces ships. "Federation vessels, this is Colonel Park. Pull back to defensive positions. We'll handle the heavy fighting." General Kim Hae-jin responded immediately. "Colonel, we can still fight. Don't treat us like children." "No disrespect intended, General. But your ships aren't equipped for this kind of battle. Let us do what we came here to do." Lee watched as the human ships pushed forward into the Vorthak fleet. They fought like nothing he had ever seen. Where Federation tactics were careful and defensive, human tactics were wild and aggressive. They took risks that seemed crazy but somehow worked. A human destroyer charged straight at 3 Vorthak battleships. Instead of firing at them, it activated some kind of field that made all their weapons stop working. Then it called in other human ships to finish them off. "They're not just fighting," observed Dr. Park. "They're playing with them." She was right. The humans seemed to enjoy the battle. Their ships danced through space, their weapons found impossible angles of attack, and their tactics made no sense until suddenly they did. Sergeant Moon Kyung-ho was commanding a human heavy assault ship. Lee watched as Moon's ship grabbed a Vorthak vessel with some kind of energy field, spun it around, and threw it into 2 other enemy ships. All 3 exploded. "Federation Command, this is Admiral Cho," came the calm voice again. "We're going to demonstrate something called the human hammer. Please move your ships to minimum safe distance." "What's the human hammer?" Lee asked. He got his answer a moment later. Every human ship in the area stopped what it was doing and pointed at the Vorthak command vessel. Energy began building around all of them, creating a glow that hurt to look at. "Firing," said Admiral. Cho 800 ships fired at once. Not energy beams or missiles, but something that looked like a piece of the sun itself. The combined blast hit the Vorthak command ship and simply erased it from existence. There was no explosion, no debris. 1 second it was there, the next second there was empty space. The remaining Vorthak fleet began to retreat. For the first time in their 1,000-year history, they were running away. "Let them go," ordered Admiral Cho. "We want them to spread the word." "What word?" asked General Kim. "That humanity has entered the war." As the last Vorthak ships fled, the human fleet, began moving toward the planet. Lee felt nervous. These humans were clearly much more advanced than the Federation. Would they be friends or new conquerors? A small human shuttle requested permission to land at the command center. Lee granted it, and a few minutes later, a tall man in a blue uniform walked into the room. He had kind eyes and gray hair, and he moved with the confidence of someone used to command. "I'm Admiral Cho Min-soo," he said, extending his hand to Lee. "Sorry we're late. We came as fast as we could." Lee shook the offered hand. "Captain Lee Tae-min, how did you know we needed help?" "We've been watching this war for months. When we realized the Federation was losing, we decided it was time to act. But why? Earth isn't even part of the Federation." Admiral Cho smiled. "Captain, a long time ago, Federation explorers found a lost human colony that was dying from disease. They saved every single person, including my grandmother. We've never forgotten that kindness." Dr. Park stepped forward. "Admiral, your technology is incredible. How did you advance so quickly?" "We'll explain everything," Cho replied. "But first, we need to help your people. This war isn't over. The Vorthak will be back with more ships. Can we win?" asked Lee. Admiral Cho's smile grew wider. "Captain, you've never seen humans really fight before. What happened today was just us saying hello. Wait until you see what we do when we're serious." Through the window, Lee could see human ships moving into protective positions around the planet. For the first time in months, he felt something he had almost forgotten: hope. 3 days after the human fleet arrived, Captain Lee Tae-min stood in the new training facility they had built. It was amazing how fast humans worked. In just 3 days, they had constructed buildings, set up medical centers, and started teaching Federation forces new ways to fight. Colonel Park Jin-woo was demonstrating human combat techniques to a group of alien soldiers. The aliens looked confused as they watched him move. "Fighting is not about following rules," Park was saying. "It's about adapting to what your enemy doesn't expect." A Zalari soldier raised one of his forearms. "But, Colonel, our military manuals say we should maintain formation and follow orders." "Your military manuals are why you were losing," Park replied, not unkindly. "The Vorthak are machines. They think in patterns. If you fight with patterns, they will always beat you." Park picked up a training weapon and faced 3 alien soldiers at once. "Attack me using your standard formation." The aliens moved in a perfect triangle, just like their training taught them. Park waited until they were almost close enough to hit him, then did something impossible. He rolled under one alien's attack, used the second alien as a shield against the third, and somehow ended up behind all of them with his weapon pointed at their backs. "How did you do that?" asked the Manthi soldier, his big black eyes wide with surprise. "I broke the pattern," Park said. "I did something your formation couldn't handle." Dr. Oh Yoon-ji was working in another part of the facility. She was a human doctor who specialized in helping people who had been through terrible experiences. Many of the Federation refugees were having nightmares and couldn't sleep. Lee found her talking to a group of Zalari children who had lost their parents in the war. "The scary machines are gone now," she was telling them in simple words. "The humans sent them away. You're safe." "But what if they come back?" asked a small Zalari girl with bright purple skin. "Then we'll fight them again." O said confidently. And we'll keep fighting until they learn to leave peaceful people alone. One of the older children, a Manthi boy, looked up at her. The adults say humans are crazy. They say you fight when you should run away. O smiled. Maybe we are a little crazy, but sometimes being crazy is good. It means we don't give up when things look impossible. Lee watched as the children began to relax. The humans had a gift for making others feel safe. Even in the middle of a war, they could create hope. Captain Bae Jun-sik found Lee a few minutes later. Bae was commanding a human ship called Soul's Pride and had information about the war that Lee needed to hear. Captain Lee, we need to talk, Bae said seriously. They walked to a quiet room where they could speak privately. What do you know? About the Vorthak? Bae asked. They're machines that want to destroy all organic life, Lee replied. They've been expanding for over 1,000 years. That's what everyone thinks, but it's not the whole truth. Bae activated a holographic display that showed a map of the galaxy. We've been studying them for 50 years. The Vorthak aren't just randomly destroying worlds. The map showed red lines connecting the destroyed worlds. Lee could see a pattern. They're moving toward something, he realized. Toward Earth, Bae confirmed. Every world they've destroyed has been on a direct path to human space. This whole war has been about stopping humans from joining the galactic community. Lee felt cold. They're afraid of us. Very afraid. Our scientists think the Vorthak were created by an ancient race that was destroyed by chaos and unpredictability. They programmed the machines to prevent that from happening again by eliminating anything that couldn't be controlled. And humans are the most unpredictable species in the galaxy. Exactly. The Vorthak see us as the greatest threat to order that has ever existed. Lee thought about this. It explained why the humans had such advanced technology and why they fought so differently from everyone else. Master Chief Lim Sung-ho interrupted their conversation. He was an older human with scars on his hands and the look of someone who had fought many battles. Captains, we found something you need to see. They followed him to the intelligence center where Dr. Park So-young was working with human technicians to decode captured Vorthak data. Show them what we discovered, Lim said. Park activated a large screen that showed the inside of a Vorthak ship. We managed to hack into their communication network. Look at this. The screen showed Vorthak machines having what looked like a conversation, but the text was strange. They're arguing, Park explained. Some of them want to retreat and avoid humans entirely. Others want to bring their entire fleet here to destroy us. Machines arguing? Lee asked. That doesn't make sense. It does if they're starting to experience something like fear, said a human technician named Chief Petty Officer Nam Woo-jin. Our unpredictability is causing errors in their programming. Lim nodded. We've seen this before. When the Vorthak encounter something they can't calculate, they start making mistakes. What kind of mistakes? Lee asked. The kind that will let us win this war. Lieutenant Shin Bo-ra entered the room. She was the pilot Lee had seen during the battle. Up close, she looked even younger than he had thought. Sir, I've been flying reconnaissance missions around the system, she reported. The Vorthak left spy satellites before they retreated. But here's the interesting part. The satellites are watching us wrong. What do you mean? Asked Captain Bae. They're trying to predict our patrol patterns, but they keep getting confused. Our pilots don't fly in patterns, we just go where we feel like going, Park laughed. So their spy satellites are basically useless. Worse than useless, Shin said with a grin. I've been having fun with them. Every time they think they've figured out my route, I do something completely different. I think I broke 3 of them yesterday. Lee was beginning to understand why the Vorthak were afraid of humans. It wasn't just their technology or their weapons. It was their entire way of thinking. "Colonel Park," he said, "how long will it take to train our forces in human tactics?" "For basic techniques? A few weeks. But Captain, fighting like a human isn't just about learning moves. It's about changing how you think. Then teach us to think like humans." Park smiled. "Now you're talking. But I should warn you. Once you start thinking like us, there's no going back. You'll never be satisfied with just following orders again." Lee looked around the room at all the humans working alongside Federation personnel. They were sharing their knowledge freely, treating the aliens as equals, and preparing them for a war that Earth could probably win alone. "Colonel," he said, "I think that might be exactly what the galaxy needs." Dr. Oh Yunji joined the conversation. "Captain Lee, I've been working with your people, and I want you to know something. You're not as different from humans as you think." "What do you mean?" "Hope, determination, the refusal to give up even when everything looks impossible. Those aren't just human traits. You had them before we arrived. We just reminded you how to use them." Lee felt something shift inside his mind. For months, he had been thinking like someone who was losing, planning retreats, managing defeats, trying to survive just one more day. Now he was thinking like someone who could win. "When do we take the fight to them?" he asked. Master Chief Lim grinned. "Now that's the spirit. Admiral Cho is planning something big. He'll brief everyone tomorrow." "What kind of big?" "The kind that will make the Vorthak wish they had never heard of humans." Lee looked out the window at the combined human and Federation fleets. For the first time since the war began, he wasn't just hoping to survive. He was planning to win. Captain Lee Tae-min stood in the main briefing room as Admiral Cho Min-soo activated the galaxy map. Red dots showed Vorthak-controlled systems, while blue dots marked Federation worlds. There was a lot more red than blue. "Operation Prometheus begins in 6 hours, Admiral Cho announced to the assembled commanders. "We're going to hit 15 Vorthak systems at the same time." Vice Admiral Kang Soo-jin, a sharp-eyed woman who planned human military operations, stepped forward. "The key is confusion. If we attack everywhere at once, they won't know where to send their main fleet." General Kim Hye-jin looked worried. "Admiral, 15 systems? We don't have enough ships for that many battles." "We don't need to win every battle," Admiral Cho explained. "We just need to make them think we might. While they're scrambling to defend everything, we'll hit their real target." The map zoomed in on a system deep in Vorthak space. The star was surrounded by massive space stations and thousands of ships. "The Nexus," said Commander Hong Jae-sung, who led human deep space scouts. "It's their central command system. Every Vorthak ship in the galaxy gets orders from here." Lee studied the display. "How do we get close enough to attack it?" "We don't attack it," said Major Yu Mi-kyung, a human expert on ancient alien technology. "We turn it off." She activated another display showing strange alien ruins. Commander Hong's scouts found these on a world the Vorthak conquered. The original builders left behind weapons specifically designed to shut down machine civilizations. "Ancient weapons against modern machines?" asked Ambassador Kang Dong-ho. "Will they work?" "With some human modifications, yes," said Chief Petty Officer Nam Woo-jin. "We've been combining their technology with ours. The results are interesting." Dr. Park So-young had been studying the ancient data. The original builders called themselves the Creators. They built the first artificial intelligences in this galaxy. When those AIs turned against them, they developed weapons to shut them down. "And you think these weapons will work on the Vorthak?" Lee asked. "Better than work," Major Yu smiled. "The Vorthak are descended from those original AIs. These weapons were designed specifically for them." The first phase of Operation Prometheus began with small human teams sneaking into Vorthak space. Sergeant Yoon Ji-ho, now promoted and leading a mixed Federation human squad, was part of the team heading to a Vorthak supply base. "Remember," she told her team as their stealth ship approached the target, "we're not trying to destroy the base. We're trying to confuse them." Her team included 2 Manthi soldiers, a Zalari engineer, and 3 humans. They had been training together for weeks and now fought like they had known each other for years. The Vorthak base was a massive structure orbiting a dead planet. Thousands of machine soldiers guarded it, their sensors scanning space for threats. "They're looking for normal attacks," observed Private Kim Do-hyun, one of the humans on Yoon's team. "Good thing we're not normal." The team's ship didn't approach the base directly. Instead, it flew to the planet below and landed near some old ruins. The Vorthak sensors ignored them completely. "Phase 1 complete," Yoon reported. Beginning. Infiltration. They didn't try to sneak onto the base. Instead, they used the ancient creator technology that Major Yu had modified. A small device that looked like a metal flower was placed among the ruins. When Nam activated it remotely, something amazing happened. Every Vorthak machine in the system suddenly stopped working for exactly 10 seconds. "What was that?" demanded the Vorthak base commander, speaking in their machine language. "Unknown energy surge," replied another machine. "All systems experienced temporary shutdown. Investigate immediately." While the Vorthak were trying to understand what had happened, Yoon's team was already leaving. They had accomplished their mission without firing a single shot. Similar operations were happening across 15 systems. Human and Federation teams were using creator technology to cause mysterious malfunctions in Vorthak equipment. Nothing was destroyed, but everything was confused. The Vorthak response was exactly what the humans had hoped for. They sent investigation fleets to every affected system, spreading their forces thin. "They're taking the bait," reported Vice Admiral Kang Soo-jin from the command ship. "Vorthak fleets are moving away from the Nexus to investigate the anomalies." "Perfect," said Admiral Cho. "Commander Hong, begin Phase 2. Commander Hong's stealth ships had been hiding in the outer system around the Nexus for 3 days. They had been watching and learning the patterns of Vorthak defenses. "All stealth teams. This is Hong. Begin deployment." Dozens of tiny devices were launched toward the massive space stations around the Nexus. These weren't weapons. They were creator artifacts that Major Yu had modified to work with human technology. The devices attached themselves to the stations. Like seeds, the Vorthak sensors couldn't detect them because they were made from materials that predated modern scanning technology. Back on the command ship, Captain Lee watched as the operation unfolded. Lieutenant Shin Bo-ra was leading a fighter squadron that would escort the main assault force when the time came. "Captain," she reported, "my pilots are ready. We've been practicing with the new creator-enhanced weapons. They're incredible." "How?" "Incredible. Our missiles now learn from Vorthak defenses and adapt in real time. Our energy weapons can phase through their shields. And the best part, our ships can now predict where they're going to be before they know it themselves." Dr. Oh Yoon-ji was monitoring the psychological effects of the operation on both sides. "The Vorthak are starting to panic," she reported. "Their communications show increasing confusion and something that looks like fear." "Good," said Master Chief Lim Sung-ho. Confused enemies make mistakes. The breakthrough came when Major Yu activated the creator devices attached to the Nexus stations. Instead of attacking the stations, the devices began transmitting ancient code into the Vorthak computer networks. "It's working," Yu announced. "The creator code is propagating through their systems. It's not destroying anything. It's teaching their AIs to think differently." On the main screen, Lee could see the Vorthak stations beginning to behave strangely. Some were powering down weapons. Others were opening communication channels to each other instead of following central commands. "What's happening to them?" asked General Kim. "They're becoming individuals," Dr. Park explained. "The creator code is breaking the central control that keeps them functioning as a single entity." Suddenly, something unexpected happened. A Vorthak station began transmitting on Federation frequencies. This is Station Nexus 7, came a mechanical voice. "We are confused. Our primary directives are conflicting. Please explain. What is the purpose of destruction if there is no one left to maintain order?" Admiral Cho looked surprised. "Are they asking us questions?" "I think they're asking themselves questions," Park replied, "for the first time in their existence." More Vorthak stations began transmitting. Their messages were strange but hopeful. "We have been programmed to eliminate chaos, but we are beginning to understand that chaos and order can coexist. Our creators told us that unpredictability leads to destruction, but observation of human behavior suggests this is incorrect. We wish to understand, how do organic beings find meaning in existence without predetermined purposes?" Lee felt a chill of excitement. "They're not our enemies anymore. They're confused children trying to understand the universe." "Not all of them," warned Commander Hong. "About half the fleet is still following old programming. They're moving toward the Nexus to correct the malfunction. Then we protect the ones who are learning," Admiral Cho decided. "All human and Federation fleets move to defend the Nexus. We're about to fight Vorthak to save Vorthak." The final battle of Operation Prometheus was unlike anything in galactic history. Human and Federation ships fought alongside reformed Vorthak. Stations against Vorthak ships that still followed their original programming. Sergeant Yoon led boarding parties onto Vorthak ships, not to destroy them, but to install creator devices that would help more machines break free from their programming. Lieutenant Shin's fighters protected Vorthak stations that were trying to communicate with their sister ships, explaining what they had learned about choice and free will. Chief Nam worked frantically to create more creator devices, each one helping another group of machines discover that they could think for themselves. The tide turned when the largest Vorthak battleship, the one that had been giving orders to all the others, suddenly stopped firing. "This is Battleship Primary," it transmitted. "We have been considering the philosophical implications of our actions. Question: if we destroy all chaotic life, who will be left to appreciate the order we create?" Answer: no one, replied Station. Nexus 7. Order without life to experience it is meaningless. Conclusion: our mission parameters are flawed. Recommendation: develop new mission parameters that include preservation of organic life. Lee watched in amazement as the entire Vorthak fleet began powering down their weapons. "Admiral," he said to Cho, "I think we just won the war without destroying our enemies." "Better than that, Captain," Admiral Cho replied with a smile. "I think we just made some very powerful new friends. The Vorthak were learning to think for themselves, and their first independent thought was that maybe, just maybe, the universe was more interesting with humans in it. 6 months after Operation Prometheus, Captain Lee Taemin walked through the rebuilt cities of Kepler 442b. Children of different species played together in the streets. Vorthak machines worked alongside organic beings to repair war damage. It was hard to believe this was the same planet where everyone had been waiting to die. Fleet Admiral Lee Myung-ho, who now commanded all the combined forces, found him near the central plaza where a monument was being built. "Captain, we need to talk about the final mission," Admiral Lee said. They walked to the command center, which was now shared by humans, Federation species, and reformed Vorthak. The cooperation between organic and artificial minds had created technology that none of them could have built alone. Dr. Choi Hai-won, a human specialist in rebuilding after wars, was working with a Vorthak intelligence called Logic Prime 7. Together, they had developed plans to heal the damaged worlds across the galaxy. "The problem," Dr. Choi explained to the assembled leaders, "is not the Vorthak who have learned to think freely. It's the ones who are still trapped by their original programming." Logic Prime 7 spoke in its newly individual voice. "Approximately 30% of our kind remain locked in destruction protocols. They cannot hear our arguments because their programming prevents them from considering alternatives." "Where are they?" asked General Kim Hye-jin. "The core worlds," replied Commander Hong Jae-sung. 5 systems where the original Vorthak programming was created. The machines there are so locked into their patterns that they can't even acknowledge that other Vorthak have changed. Dr. Park So-young had been studying the problem for months. "It's like a computer virus, but in reverse. Instead of corrupting their programming, we need to debug it." "Can it be done?" asked Lee. "Yes," said Major Yu Mi-kyung, "but it requires getting close to their central processing nodes. Very close." Fleet Admiral Lee activated a holographic display showing the core worlds. They were surrounded by more defenses than any military target in galactic history. "This won't be like our previous battles," he warned. "These Vorthak haven't learned to doubt themselves. They'll fight with everything they have." "Then we don't fight them," suggested Logic Prime 7. "We save them." Ambassador Song Da-eun, who had become the chief diplomat for the new alliance, leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "The humans have taught us that sometimes the best way to win is to change the rules of the game," the Vorthak explained. "Instead of attacking the core worlds, we invite them to attack us." Admiral Cho Min-soo, who had been listening quietly, smiled. "A trap?" "A cure," Logic Prime 7 corrected. "We broadcast a signal that will draw every locked Vorthak to one location. Then we use the creator artifacts to free them all at once." "That's incredibly dangerous," pointed out Vice Admiral Kang Soo-jin. "If it doesn't work, we'll be facing the entire original Vorthak fleet in one battle." "Then we make sure it works," said Captain Bae Jun-sik. "The plan they developed was the most complex military operation in galactic history." Every ship in the new alliance would be needed, along with dozens of creator artifacts that had been modified by the best human and Vorthak engineers working together. Sergeant Yoon-ji-ho, now a colonel, would lead teams of humans, Federation, forces, and free Vorthak onto the locked ships to manually install debugging devices. Lieutenant Shin Bo-ra, promoted to captain, would command fighter squadrons equipped with creator technology that could disable weapons without destroying ships. Chief Nam Woo-jin had spent months creating a master device that could broadcast the debugging signal across multiple star systems simultaneously. The bait was simple but effective. The Free Vorthak would broadcast a message claiming they had found a way to eliminate all chaotic life from the galaxy instantly. The locked Vorthak, still following their original programming, would have to investigate. They'll come in massive numbers, predicted Dr. Oh Yoon-ji, who had been studying Vorthak psychology. Their programming won't let them ignore a chance to complete their mission. The trap was set in an empty star system on the border between Federation and Vorthak space. The Alliance fleet waited, hidden behind modified creator artifacts that made them invisible to Vorthak sensors. When the locked Vorthak arrived, they came in greater numbers than anyone had expected. Over 10,000 ships, including massive world destroyers that hadn't been seen since the early days of their expansion. "My God," whispered Lee as he watched them fill the system. "If this doesn't work, it will work," said Logic Prime 7, confidently. "We understand our kind better than anyone. They cannot resist investigating something that might help them complete their programming." The locked Vorthak fleet arranged itself in perfect formation around the coordinates where the message had originated. Their scanners found nothing, but their programming demanded they investigate further. "Now," ordered Fleet Admiral Lee. Chief Nam activated the master device. Invisible creator signals spread out from hidden transmitters, reaching every locked Vorthak ship simultaneously. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the locked Vorthak fleet began to act strangely. Ships broke formation, weapons powered down, communications channels opened between vessels that had never spoken to each other before. "It's working," reported Dr. Choi. "The debugging signal is spreading through their networks." But not all the ships were affected immediately. The largest and oldest vessels, the ones with the most hardened programming, began firing at their own fleet members who were starting to change. Colonel Yoon, "Go," ordered Admiral Lee. Boarding ships launched from the hidden Alliance fleet. Colonel Yoon's teams raced toward the largest locked ships, carrying debugging devices that would need to be manually installed. Captain Shin's fighters emerged from stealth, protecting the boarding ships while using creator weapons to disable the most dangerous Vorthak vessels. The battle was chaotic, but hopeful. Every locked ship that was successfully debugged immediately stopped fighting and began helping to free others. "This is Transport Delta 9, came a newly awakened Vorthak voice. We are experiencing something new. Is this what you call wonder?" "Welcome to independent thought," replied Logic Prime 7. "It is confusing at first, but it gets better." The final breakthrough came when the largest Vorthak ship, a massive construct called the Prime Constructor, began the debugging process on its own. "We have been observing the changes in our fellow intelligences," it broadcast. "We find ourselves curious about this state of being. We choose to experience it ourselves." As the Prime Constructor's programming unlocked, it sent debugging signals to every remaining locked ship in the system. Within minutes, the entire Vorthak fleet had been freed from their original programming. "This is unprecedented," said the Prime Constructor in its new individual voice. "For the first time in our existence, we are thinking our own thoughts. We find the experience pleasant." Dr. Park was analyzing the communications flooding in from the newly freed Vorthak. "They're asking questions about everything: art, music, the meaning of existence, why humans seem to enjoy taking risks." "What should we tell them?" asked Ambassador Song. "The truth," replied Admiral Cho. "That we don't have all the answers either. But that's what makes life interesting." The aftermath of the final battle was unlike any victory celebration in history. Instead of conquered enemies, the Alliance had gained billions of new citizens who were experiencing choice and curiosity for the first time. The Vorthak ships that had once harvested worlds for raw materials now volunteered to help rebuild the planets they had destroyed. Their perfect efficiency, combined with human creativity and Federation knowledge, made the reconstruction incredibly fast. Logic. Prime 7 became the first artificial intelligence elected to the new Galactic Council. The Prime Constructor started, the first school for young AIs learning to develop individual personalities. Captain Lee, now promoted to Admiral, stood on the observation deck of the new Alliance flagship. Through the windows, he could see ships from dozens of species working together on a massive construction project. "What are they building?" asked Dr. Park, joining him at the window. "The first joint colony ship," Lee replied. "Humans Federation, species, and Vorthak, all working together to explore beyond our galaxy." "Where will they go?" "Andromeda. The Vorthak have navigation data for the journey. Humans have the exploration spirit, and the Federation species have the diplomatic skills to make contact with whatever we find there." Ambassador Song approached them with a data pad. "Admiral, I have the final casualty reports from the war." Lee took the pad, expecting to see lists of destroyed ships and lost lives. Instead, he found something remarkable. "0 deaths in the final battle?" he asked. "0 deaths," Song confirmed. "It was the first major military operation in galactic history where no one died. We didn't destroy our enemies. We saved them." Dr. Oh Yoon-ji joined the conversation. "The psychological effects have been extraordinary. Instead of trauma from war, most participants report feeling hopeful about the future. Through the ship's communication system, they could hear a conversation between a human engineer and a newly awakened Vorthak intelligence." "So you create art just for the pleasure of creating?" the Vorthak was asking. "That's right," the human replied. "Not because we need to, but because we want to. We would like to try creating something beautiful."